I was 76 the day my brother stole my last chance at peace. Not my money, not my house, not even my future. He stole my husband's memory, the one thing I thought no one could touch. His name was Michael, my older brother by 4 years and my burden for 50. He was the kind of man people called charming, until they realized the charm came with a hook. You helped him once, he owned you forever. I didn't have the luxury of walking away. We shared a childhood home, a war-torn father, a mother who kept us alive through grit and silence. Michael was the golden child. I was the one who cleaned up after him. Life didn't change him. It just gave him better tools. When I married Daniel Carter, I thought I had finally escaped our family's curse. Daniel was gentle, generous, a high school art teacher who believed beauty could save people. He spent his life painting sunsets and teaching troubled kids how to use brushes instead of fists. He loved me quietly, fully, and every day. When he died, a piece of me died with him. We had one last wish together, to have him buried in the small, serene Veterans Cemetery outside town under the old oak, where the wind always sounded like waves. The plot was paid for, the paperwork done. It was supposed to be simple, but simple doesn't exist when Michael is involved. On the morning of Daniel's funeral, as I stood in my black dress with my hands shaking around the folded flag, the funeral director approached me, face pale. "Mrs. Carter, there's a problem." My stomach dropped. "What problem?" He hesitated. "The burial plot. It was transferred." "Transferred?" I repeated. "To who?" He swallowed. "To your brother." Everything inside me went still. "He said you approved it," the director continued carefully. "He said you wanted Daniel cremated instead and that the plot should go to your brother's wife." I stared at him. The world blurred. The flag slipped in my hands. "My brother doesn't even have a wife." The director winced. "I'm very sorry." He had paperwork. Paperwork. Michael's favorite weapon. I walked outside, needing air. The sky was too blue, too bright, mocking me with its indifference. And then my phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Nothing personal, sis. Land like that shouldn't go to waste." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Grief and rage braided together inside my ribs like barbed wire. My husband's final resting place sold, stolen, taken. A piece of land that meant peace for him, comfort for me, closure for both, all gone. Because Michael wanted money, because his debts were deep, because he saw my grief as an opportunity. That night, I sat in Daniel's empty chair in our living room and let myself feel everything I'd spent a lifetime pushing down. And somewhere between the sobs and the shaking, I realized something important. This wasn't the first time Michael took from me, but it would be the last. I picked up my old landline phone. Not my cell phone, no. Some calls needed to be made the old way. One number, one voice I hadn't heard in 30 years. "Ruth?" the voice said after 3 rings. I closed my eyes. "It's me," I whispered. A pause. Long, heavy. "I told you," the voice said quietly. "If you ever call again, someone has to get hurt." "Yes," I said. "That's why I'm calling." Another pause. Then, what did he do? He sold Daniel's burial plot. A sharp breath. "You want it back?" "No," I said. I opened my eyes. They felt different, sharper. I want him to feel what I felt. A beat. And I want it to last. The voice on the phone smiled. I could hear it. "Then let's begin." I hung up the phone and folded my hands in my lap. For the first time since Daniel died, I felt something that wasn't grief. I felt purpose. I felt the blood warming in my fingers, the fog lifting, the spine straightening. My brother had taken the wrong thing from the wrong woman, and he had no idea that the sister he thought was fragile was about to become the storm he never prepared for. Her name was Ruth Calder, and if evil had accountants, she would have done their books. We met when I was 39 and working part-time at the county clerk's office, back when I still believed helping people mattered. Ruth was already infamous then a fixer, a finder, A woman who could track money that didn't want to be found and secrets that didn't want to be seen. She wasn't a criminal. She was something worse. She was good at her job. Her clients were the kind of people who needed things handled quietly. Cheating spouses, hidden trusts, missing inheritances, companies laundering funds through their own charities. When she asked me for help all those years ago, clerical help, nothing more, I didn't realize who she really was until it was too late to pretend innocence. But I helped her anyway, because back then, helping her meant helping people buried under the cruelty of others. We hadn't spoken in 30 years, but when I called her, she didn't hesitate. The next morning, Ruth arrived at my home. Age hadn't softened her. She still wore her steel gray hair in a knot that could deflect bullets, and her eyes were the same cold, analytical blue, the kind that dissected you before you spoke. She stepped inside without waiting for permission. "When did he steal the plot?" she asked, setting her bag down. "Yesterday," I said. "And you want him humiliated, ruined, broken, or all three?" she asked casually, flipping open a black folder. I paused. "Not dead," I said. "Just undone." Ruth nodded, as if that was the most natural line to draw. "Undoing men like your brother is easy," she said. "They usually stand on a mountain of lies so tall we only need to kick one rock." She took out a thin laptop, pressed a key, and pulled up a file she had already started. "You began without me?" "I never wait," Ruth said. She tapped a screen. "Your brother's financials." I leaned in. The page was a graveyard of bad decisions. Multiple payday loans. A line of credit opened under a business that didn't exist. A debt to a private lender with a name that made me cold. "What is this?" I whispered. "It's who your brother owes money to," she said, "and your burial plot was his attempt at a bandage." I felt a pulse of rage. "So he took Daniel's piece to pay off criminals." "He took Daniel's piece," Ruth said, "because he thought you wouldn't fight back." She turned the page. "And because he had help." My chest tightened. "Help from who?" She tapped another screen. A woman's photo appeared, younger than me, pretty, sharp eyes, cold smile. "Who is she?" I asked. "Her name is Linda Ross, and she purchased the burial plot. She and your brother have been communicating for months. Financial transfers, phone calls, emails." "His girlfriend?" "No," Ruth said. "His partner." "In crime?" "In survival," Ruth said. "But yes, crime too." The rage inside me became something else. Clarity. "All right," I said. "What's the plan?" Ruth smiled. "That depends. Do you want him to know it's you from the beginning, or only at the end?" "Only at the end," I said. "He needs to understand what he did before he understands who did it back." Ruth's smile widened. "I was hoping you'd say that. We began with the land. The plot Daniel was supposed to rest in. That land isn't yours," I told Ruth. "It will be," she replied. Later that afternoon, she returned with paperwork. "What is this?" I asked. A quiet lean. "Courtesy of someone who still thinks I'm useful." "What does it do?" "It freezes the plot," she said. "No one can develop it, sell it, move it, or occupy it until the lien is cleared. And clearing it requires paperwork Michael can't produce because it doesn't exist. So he's trapped." "No," Ruth corrected me. "He's confused. Trapped comes after." The next step was Linda. Ruth was methodical. "We hit the partner first," she explained. "Partners panic faster." She pulled up a photograph. Linda getting into a silver sedan. Linda leaving a bank. Linda meeting Michael at a coffee shop. "She's clever," Ruth muttered, "but careless. She likes attention. She posts too much. She is not built for collapse." "What will you do?" A slow smile. "I'll show her that Michael has been lying to her too." "How?" "By giving her something I found in the county records last night." She handed me a paper. I stared at it. "What is this?" "A deed," Ruth said. "Joint property." "And what does it mean?" "It means Michael legally tied her to a foreclosed property he abandoned 10 years ago." My hands shook. "He set her up?" Ruth nodded. "And she doesn't know." I felt a mixture of anger and disgust. So she's a victim too. In practice, Ruth said. In moral character? No. She knew he was married. She knew he was stealing. She just didn't know he was stealing from her as well. I took a breath. What will you do with the deed? Ruth smirked. Deliver it. We watched from across the street as Ruth slid the envelope under Linda's apartment door. We waited. 20 minutes later, Linda emerged screaming into the hallway, waving the deed like it was on fire. She dialed number after number, shouting at Michael to pick up the damn phone. Ruth exhaled with satisfaction. That will escalate nicely, she said. Ready for the next step? Yes, I whispered. Then it's his turn. Ruth didn't confront him. Not yet. She did something worse. She visited everyone he owed money to. She knocked on doors, showed documents, pulled up bank statements, proved he had hidden assets, proved he had lied, proved he had transferred money through accounts that would implicate them too. And then she said the words that changed everything. I have proof he's been talking about you to the police. Every face changed at that sentence. Fear, suspicion, rage. Ruth didn't need them to hurt him. She only needed them to stop trusting him. A man without allies is already half destroyed. By the end of the week, Michael was spiraling. His calls were frantic, his messages desperate. One voicemail. Sis, please, something's wrong. People are calling me. Someone's freezing my accounts. Someone's threatening me. Just call me another. I think I'm being followed. Is that you? If you're angry about the plot, okay, fine, just talk to me another, please. I'm sorry. I'll give it back. I'll fix it. I erase them. Every single one. He deserved to feel small. He deserved to feel powerless. He deserved to feel what I felt the moment I learned Daniel's grave had been sold like a used car. The breaking point happened on a Thursday evening. Ruth and I sat in her car outside a dingy bar Michael had been frequenting. She had tracked his phone old habits, she said. He stumbled out, looking disheveled, terrified, angry. Linda stormed behind him, screaming, You lied to me, you used me, you signed my name on a foreclosed property, you ruined me. Michael grabbed her wrists. You don't understand. Someone is doing this to me. Someone is… Yes, I whispered inside the car. I am. Linda shoved him hard. We're done, Michael. And trust me, whatever's coming for you, you deserve it. She left. He collapsed onto the curb, head in his hands. Ruth turned to me. This is your moment. I shook my head. No, not yet, Ruth blinked. You want him to fall further? I looked at my brother, broken, trembling, facing the cost of his own choices. Yes, I said quietly. He hasn't reached bottom. Ruth watched me with an unreadable expression. Then we push. She started the car. We push, I repeated. My voice didn't shake, because by then, I understood something. He wasn't being punished for stealing a plot of land. He was being punished for every year he stole from my life and believed he had the right to. Michael didn't hit bottom that night. He merely found the trapdoor. The real fall came later. Ruth and I watched it happen piece by piece, the way a building collapses, not from one explosion, but from the slow, inevitable failure of every support beam. We began with his income. Michael worked part-time doing contract maintenance work for small businesses, the kind of work that didn't pay well but kept him fed. Ruth found a way to remove even that. She contacted each business anonymously with concerns about Michael's background checks, unpaid debts, and possible cooperation with law enforcement. Nobody wanted trouble. Nobody wanted liability. By Monday morning, his phone had stopped ringing with work offers. By Tuesday, his clients had asked him not to return. By Wednesday, the landlord put a notice on his door. Michael's life had always been built on sand. Now we were removing the sand grain by grain. That Wednesday evening, Michael called me again. Ruth, he whispered. He'd even stopped calling me sis. Someone is destroying my life. Please. I don't know what to do. I didn't answer. I listened. There is a difference. No one will talk to me, he continued. Everyone thinks I'm a rat or a thief. Linda's gone. The bank froze my accounts. I can't get work. I can't. A choking sound. Then, please, just tell me what's happening. I ended the call. Ruth glanced at me. Almost, she said. No, I replied. He's still fighting. I need him to stop fighting. How do we do that? Ruth asked. I looked out the window at the darkening sky. We take the one thing he never cared about, until it's gone. Ruth waited. My love, I said. She nodded slowly. Daniel. The next day, Ruth acquired the cemetery transfer logs. He forged your signature, she said. He filed paperwork stating you authorized the transfer, but the notary he used doesn't exist. My hands clenched. So he committed fraud. Multiple counts. And the cemetery accepted it? They accepted the document, not the act, Ruth said. But in the eyes of the law, this is open and shut. So we expose him? No, Ruth said. We hold it, and we let him confess first. I frowned. Why would he confess? Because tonight, Ruth said, we're going to give him a reason. We visited him after sundown. Not together, not obviously. Michael lived in a tiny, peeling apartment that smelled like spilled beer and desperation. The hallway lights flickered, a fitting place for a man who had spent his life burning out every bulb around him. He opened the door before I knocked as if he knew I was there. His eyes were red, his shoulders hunched, his clothes wrinkled. He looked like a man drowning on dry land. Sis, he whispered, but I didn't step inside. Instead, I handed him the folder, the same folder Ruth had shown me. Read it, I said. He swallowed. What is it? The truth. He opened it. I watched his face as he saw. The forged deed, the fraudulent signature, the cemetery transfer, the bank records, the debt documents, the photo of Linda with the deed he put in her name, the printouts of his clandestine messages, the proof of every lie he ever bases. Told his lips parted, the files trembled in his hands. Who gave you this? He rasped. You. He shook his head. No, I didn't. I interrupted. You took Daniel's burial plot. You lied about me. You stole from me. You used my grief. And you thought I wouldn't notice. He collapsed into the doorway, legs shaking. I needed the money, he whispered. I was going to fix it later. I swear I didn't think you wouldn't understand. No, I said quietly. You didn't think I mattered. He looked at me with real fear. Please, don't do this. You can't. I'm not doing anything, I said. You are. He blinked rapidly. What does that mean? It means I'm recording this conversation. He froze. You're lying. I tilted my head. Am I? He looked me over, and for the first time in 50 years, he realized I wasn't bluffing. He broke. Sis, please, he begged. You can't destroy me. I'm your brother. Your family. You can't. I can, I said. And I will. Tears streamed down his face. He sank to his knees. For a long moment, he didn't speak at all. Then, what do you want? He whispered. I stared down at him, a man who had stolen from the dead and the grieving, who had believed himself untouchable because he shared my blood. I want the truth, I said. About what? About everything, I answered. Every lie you told, every theft you committed, every signature you forged, every debt you hid, every person you used, every reason you thought you were entitled to Daniel's peace. He covered his face with his hands. I can't, you will, I said. He lowered his hands, defeated. And then he spoke. He confessed. All of it. The debts, the lies, the plot, the forgeries, the pressure from creditors, the manipulation of Linda, the belief that you're old enough not to need land, the arrogance, the cruelty, the selfishness. The truth spilled out of him like rot from an old wound. I didn't stop recording, not once. When he finished, he looked up at me. His eyes were hollow. Sis, he whispered. What now? I leaned down, and for the first time in my life, I spoke honestly to him. You break, I said. and then you learn. I turned and walked away. Behind me, he sobbed the kind of sobbing that came from the core, from the part of a person that knew the world had shifted and would never shift back. Ruth was waiting in the car. Did he confess? She asked. Yes, I said. And the recording? I lifted the phone. Right here. Ruth exhaled with satisfaction. Then it's time. We sent the recording to the cemetery board, the sheriff, the debt collector, the bank, the private lender, the notary board, the property registry, and Linda. We didn't send it publicly. We sent it professionally. Jurisdictions love paperwork. Michael was hit with fraud, property tampering, false signature identity manipulation, cemetery plot interference, a felony, and 2 counts of elder financial abuse, but he didn't know that yet. He found out the next morning, when 3 patrol cars pulled up to his complex. He was taken away in handcuffs, not violently, not brutally, but with the quiet, suffocating finality that comes when the truth finally catches up to a liar. Ruth and I watched from half a block away. Michael saw me. For a moment, our eyes met. There was no accusation in his gaze, just recognition. He knew. He knew who had done this. He knew why. He knew he had earned it. And he didn't fight. He simply lowered his head and let them close the door. Ruth looked at me. You got your justice, she said. No, I replied softly. I got Daniel's peace. 3 months later, with the help of the lien Ruth placed, the cemetery restored Daniel's plot to my name. I stood under the old oak, the wind moving through the leaves like the breath of someone you loved. I placed my hand on the stone. I'm home, I whispered. And you finally are too. Behind me, Ruth stood with her arms crossed. You did good, she said. I did what needed to be done, I answered. Ruth smirked. Same thing. We walked slowly back to the car. That's it then? Ruth asked. I shook my head. No, one more thing. She glanced over. Michael? No, I said. Myself. I looked at the sky, bright, open, gentle. For the first time in decades, I feel free. Ruth nodded once. Then we're done. But we weren't done. Not really. Because grief doesn't end. Justice doesn't heal you. Revenge doesn't close wounds. But it gives back something precious. Yourself. The version of you that refuses to be stepped on, erased, stolen from. The version of you that rises. And as I walked away from that cemetery, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. My brother destroyed my peace. But I rebuilt it, brick by brick. And nobody will ever take it from me again.